Hey everyone, welcome to your agency investor and non-QM playbook, the first webinar from the Silver Hill Wholesale Network. Very excited to have you join us here for this webinar. It's been a while since we've done one. This is our first one as our wholesale network. So really excited that you've been able to join us. I see we've got a lot of people joining, more still joining, but we're going to get started. I know you've got a busy day, especially ahead of Thanksgiving next week. So let's get right into it. First, I think I want to start with a little bit about us. We always do that, but now it's especially important because there's been some big news. Hopefully, you have seen this in the press release that's gone out, some of the emails that you may have seen throughout the last week or so. I want to tell you about the Silver Hill Wholesale Network. So this is all the wholesale entities within the Bayview family. Perhaps you're joining us, you've got relationship with Lakeview Wholesale. Perhaps you have a relationship with Silver Hill Funding. You have trusted partners here. They're still here. Everyone is here to help. The great news is that we're now working closely together. So if you're licensed, you're approved with Lakeview Wholesale, you now have the opportunity to close a much larger set of loans with us. And that's really exciting for us. Part of our presentation is just to make that more clear. You know, it can be kind of confusing. So we're gonna kind of show you what that means, and then show you some of the really interesting products that we have available for you today, and how that might be useful for you at the end of this year and going into 2022. I'm joined by Joe Altamonte, who is our head of business development. Joe, are you here?
I am here, Zach. Thank you.
Great. Yes, and my name is Zach North. I'm the head of marketing at Silver Hill Funding. If you've joined some of our past webinars, if you've gone to some of our silver sessions around the country, you know Joe and myself. We're really excited to do this. We're happy to launch right into it. So without further ado, let me go into our first poll question. And it's weird to start like with a poll right away, right? But there's a good reason for it this time. It's because we have a lot of new people joining us, and it's important for us to know kind of who we're talking to, because you know, maybe you've done a lot of business in the past, maybe you're new, maybe you do residential, maybe you do more commercial. It's important for us to know who we're talking to, so we can kind of steer this presentation in a way that's the most helpful for you. So let me launch it. And it looks like we are getting responses now. So I'm going to let it go for a few seconds. Okay. Joe, I don't know if you'd expect this or not, but the majority right now, over nearly 65% saying both residential and commercial. Interesting, right?
That is very interesting, and they've come to the right place then.
Yeah, right. No, and it's always been the case for us, especially when we talk to commercial brokers historically. They say, yeah, I do commercial, but I always have residential too. They, of course, can never do it with us. Now you can through our partner in the residential space. So we've got pretty much everyone there. Yeah, over 60% doing both. So I think that's very helpful for us to know. I've just closed that poll. I'm gonna keep going here. The first thing I want to do when we talk about our presentation is sort of illustrate the issue. Like, why do we need a playbook? You know, my Miami Dolphins don't seem to realize this, that you need a playbook based on issues you're facing. That's how you can be successful. The playbook changes, and so I think where we see ourselves today is a little bit different. And that's what we're excited about showing you, is that there are some different things going on, some different things we expect to happen next year. And then I think we have products right now that can help you be successful throughout that. Some headlines that are very recent. You know, we're seeing rates rise. I mean, we've always talked about it. Now we're actually seeing it happen. Expect it to happen more next year. Also, refinance originations set to drop 62% in 2022. Looks a little bit like a big number. If that was the bulk of your business, that could be kind of worrisome, especially if it's certain types of loans. Finally, a Redfin report announced that bidding wars declined for the 5th consecutive month in September 2021. So we know the market's been really, really good for a really long time. Might be slowing a little bit in certain areas, and so these things can be problems for us. But I think the bigger problem is that we've got a very big industry, a lot of loan officers, a lot of brokers, a lot of lenders can be going to compete for the shrinking number of deals. So this might be a situation where we're thinking about, zigging while everyone else is zagging, right? So that is where I think we are today. But of course, we're not going to just sit with the problem. We're going to offer solutions. And the way we see it here, we have a couple key ways that you can be successful despite what's happening, or maybe even because of it. And first, we're talking about a focus on non-owner occupied products, what you might call investor products. There's another way of saying that. And why? I think as we position ourselves, we position the Silver Hill Wholesale Network going forward. As you get to know us better, even if you're already approved, you might be thinking, well, what's in this for me? I think we're saying here that we think that we can be your number one solution for these investor loans. And so why is this even a good thing? Investor deals historically always been less sensitive to rate changes in owner-occupied loans. When your partner is aggressively priced like we are today, that's always a good thing. Better capture opportunities to fuel future purchases. And lastly, a strong differentiating factor for your business. And I think that's really important for your referral partners to know, for your actual clients to know, what sets you apart. And we're going through the same thing. We're trying to show you what's setting us apart today. It's super important because logos change, names change. In our industry, these things change all the time. So people have to remember certain things about you that set you apart, and that they can always think about when they've got a new scenario for you. Here's a report from Redfin that just came out a few days ago. So hot off like the digital presses, right? Investors bought a record 90,215 homes in Q3, 80% increase over 2020. So investors are purchasing a lot of these homes now. I think we've seen this, various versions of this in a lot of publications. This is not a brand new story, but it's worth emphasizing here that the investor market is really, really active. In that, we're seeing that single family homes made up a record 74% of investor purchases. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these DSCR products. We have one too. We're going to tell you all about it. These single family homes, also these sort of 1 to 4 units, a really interesting product. And then like our DSCR product, really interesting way to get to a lot more approvals than you might, because that calculation being different, able to get more approvals than you might with some of the more traditional solutions for those types of investors. And finally, 77% of investor home purchases were paid for with cash. Now, that's interesting in a couple ways, of course, but I just can't help but wonder, looking at that, like, these investors know that they don't have to put so much cash in? Like, are they doing this because they know of the standard solutions out there and they think, it doesn't really fit for my business? We know how investors are with income verification, things like that. Perhaps if they knew about some other solutions that you could offer them, those types of investors wouldn't pay all cash. Maybe there's access to more of these potential clients than we might think. So I thought that was a really interesting report, very helpful for this presentation. So thank you, Redfin. Before I go any further, I usually say it at the beginning, but we got so excited to start, I guess I forgot. We are recording this presentation like we always do, and we are going to send you the presentation following the webinar. So I'm going to email this to everyone who registered, everyone who's here today. So you can always just go through this again. The other thing I'll mention is that, you can definitely ask questions using the webinar tool, and we're going to answer as many of them as we can following the presentation. So feel free to do that. And you know what, you can be as specific as you want, like specific questions, even about a deal. I may not like we may not answer them in this call, but what we do after the presentation is we take the specific questions. We match you up with who your rep is here, and they can just follow up that conversation with you. So maybe something just hits you during the call, and you don't have time to get off and text or call, whatever. Feel free to drop that in. We can connect you with the right person. If you're new, if you don't have a person, that's perfect also, because we can make that connection for you. So feel free to do that. So one solution, of course, focus on those investor, those non-owner occupied scenarios. Another solution is simply expand audience. And we have a few ways that we believe we can help you do that. One is through this agency investor PLS product. PLS stands for private label security. I also say it stands for like PLS as in like, please consider this because this product can be super helpful for your business. Joe here is going to explain more how it works. But when the partner is priced as like aggressively as we are, it can be a huge benefit for you. And we're seeing a ton of success. Our brokers, I'm just hearing really great things about people who are taking advantage of this solution, especially when you fully understand how it works and who it could be used for. So Joe's going to talk all about that. Next, go big on DSCR. Like I just mentioned, you saw the stats. These types of properties are being purchased now. This is very, very popular, and this particular type of product can help you get more approvals because it's something like a commercial underwrite on this kind of residential property, where instead of looking at the DTI test, we're looking at the income that the property generates. So for investors, this makes sense, and it's a way to get more approvals. Again, our pricing happens to be really good on this right now, so we want to talk about it. And lastly, diversifying with commercial loans. This, if you know Silver Hill from the past, this is what we do. So we've always been that partner for small balance commercial going back many years. A lot of you I've spoken to before this presentation. You've done a lot of these loans with us. But to be honest, like we've exhibited, presented at more residential shows in the past, events, and we talked to a lot of residential people who have been interested, and they do maybe one or two a year, maybe one if it just happens to fall in their lap. And so that's it. I think a lot of people are aware, but never really jumped in. And I think now it's easier than ever to do that with us, with how we've structured this wholesale network. So we want to bring that back to your attention. We did that poll question a minute ago. Most of you do both, but how often, and is that something that like you will do if it's really easy, or if you're familiar with it, or are you actively searching for it? We're going to make a case for it in this presentation. So hopefully when you walk away today, you kind of keep your feelers out. And I know how it is. Like the deal's it might just fall into your lap, or it's like that thing when you're looking for a car and all of a sudden you see that car on the road. It's something like that. That could also happen. I've heard it before. With that, I'll jump right into our second poll question, because we talked about these sort of non-agency solutions. So in a sense, we're sort of getting into that non-QM area. And so we have these solutions where, DSCR, commercial, different from the agency PLS, which is an investor PLS solution, which is QM. But we are interested to know sort of like how non-QM is factoring into your business today, because this is a lot of what we're going to talk about, and a lot of just what we're interested in now as we're expanding product set, talking to new people, and sort of growing the business with our broker partners. So I'm going to launch that right now. And we're going to give you time to answer sort of question like what non-QM products are you doing now? If any, is this something that you're focused on? Do you not care so much right now? Is something that you're aware of, want to learn more, or what? So I'm going to give a few seconds here because we have a couple options. I expect kind of a wide range, and that's exactly what I'm seeing. But so far, the early leaders are the alt income, whether that's bank statement, a 1099, or a DSCR product. which is what we would expect, but also seeing a good amount of foreign national and other. And to be frank, we've got about 15% saying they don't do that. So I think that's why these kind of presentations are helpful, because you don't necessarily know why not, but you might see something that makes sense, might confirm something you also believe. We just think it's good to ask. So I'm going to give 1 or 2 more seconds because I see the people still answering. And I think that's about it. So the winner here is an all income solution, but right behind it is DSCR, which is very interesting because we're going to talk about those things in a second. And in fact, now that we've done this poll, I'm going to get back here and I'm going to pass it on to Joe. So what Joe's going to do is he's going to go into more detail about these specific solutions, how they can help you, and then how our version can specifically help you, especially if you're approved with us, especially if you're active with us today. That's like how it can be most valuable. But I hope, regardless, you get some good value out of this. So Joe, if you're ready, take it away, and I'll control the slides here.
Sounds great. Thank you, Zach, and thank you everybody for taking the time to join us today. And that's very interesting answers to this poll question. But regardless of the answer, I think it's a good spot to be today because we have a little bit for everybody. Even the folks that don't do QM might reconsider based on some of the ease of our transactions. So Zach, I'm still seeing the poll. I don't know if you've moved on to the.
No, I've closed it. Let's see. Sorry, manage the poll. It's closed. Now, are you moved on?
I'm still seeing the poll. I don't know if it's my connection or make sure I'm connected.
It's closed, and it looks like everyone else is good. If you don't get it in 1 second, just let me know, and I'll just keep going so we don't get a
okay
poll question.
I mean, I saw every slide up until this point.
Okay. All right, the poll is closed. It's closed. Okay. It looks like, okay, some people are still saying the poll. It looks like something's just lagging with GoToWebinar. Closed here. Manage poll. All right, sorry, bear with me 1 second.
Yep.
Of course, it's never happened before. Okay, seeing the poll. Okay, oops, sorry. Okay, is it gone now?
I still see the poll, but while we do have a lag, and maybe it'll clear up in a minute, do we have any questions we might be able to address at this point?
So no, we don't. Well, we actually have a few. Just talking about the poll. I can't actually even see. I've closed out everything with the poll. Why don't I do this? I'm going to stop sharing, and Joe, I'm going to change the presenter to you, and maybe that will change it real quick.
Okay. All right. Let me get the. All right. Let me get the slide up. It's going to be slide 10, correct? All right.
Yes, sir. And sorry everyone. It's yeah. So I see
Do you
your
see
screen,
my screen?
and yeah, and I don't see any poll questions, so I think we're good.
Excellent.
Yeah, really sorry about that, everyone. Of course, I got some funky things happening with GoToWebinar here, but it looks like we've cleared it out. So sorry about that. Joe, looks like you can go ahead now.
That was fast thinking, Zach. Good job. So,
well, you think you've experienced everything with webinars, and then they always hit you with something fun and exciting and different. So much appreciated. Right. But thank you. You can go ahead.
All right. So Zach alluded to a lot of the programs that we have available that span residential, commercial, and a little bit of both. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot of success with already, and if you're a broker that is currently signed up with us, as a residential broker, you've probably experienced this as well, is our agency investor private label securitization product. And what we've really been able to, and I don't say this lightly, we've been able to dominate the market as far as pricing is concerned in this area. And as the head of business development that works with both Silver Hill and Lakeview, I can tell you that the number one reason why we get new inquiries over the past couple of months has been the investor pricing. And oh, by the way, we do have a very aggressive jumbo program as well. We'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. But the investor PLS, it's an agency product. One note about that is if you are a commercial lender that is not licensed as a residential lender, that is something that you would need to get done before you could take advantage of the agency investor product. Or if you are a residential lender working with Silver Hill and approved with Silver Hill, we would need to refer you over to somebody at currently that works on the Lakeview loans. It's just a licensing issue for the people working on the loans. But we're big proponents in not just selling price, but right now that's where we're winning. And so we can sell you all the other great things about working with our company, which is a very versatile product set, great customer service, access to underwriters and processors. But now we can add in, we have really strong pricing on the agency investor PLS programs. I forgot that I'm not waiting for you to change the slide, Zach.
You got it.
So I mentioned the pricing. Won't have to beat a dead horse on that one, but again, in fielding brokers' inquiries about signing up with us, that has been the number one reason over the past few months. And of course, if you're already approved with Lakeview, expanding this business with this product is very easy. You're already set up to do it. So it's just a product that we are focusing on, and we're in a great position within the marketplace. What we believe is our right to win with that particular product. So anybody already signed up with Lakeview, residentially licensed, NMLS number, bring it on. Bring in those investor deals, and I think you'll be really happy with not just the pricing, but your level of service that we'll provide you. The DSCR program is something that is becoming very popular in the marketplace. As a matter of fact, I'm at a private investor expo as we speak, and a private lender expo as we speak in Atlantic City, and virtually every lender that has an exhibit here is talking about the DSCR program, and a lot of small commercial stuff as well, but this is probably the headliner across what everybody's talking about. We've been doing this for a long time in one way or another, and our solution for the 1 to 4 unit properties is a great alternative to, especially for you and residential folks on the call, great alternative for the investment properties that generate cash flow on their own, but the borrower might have their own issues getting approved, namely because of their inability to verify their income. Not that they don't make money, but of course they maximize the tax code, in air quotes, and essentially the banks don't necessarily go running to them, or the full doc programs that lenders like ourselves might not be appropriate for them. So speaking of that income verification, the debt to income calculation, they don't pass muster because of the fact that their tax returns don't tell the story as far as how they make money. And then they own more properties than the agency programs allow. We've seen this for a long time. So think of the DSCR program as a plan B for folks that otherwise might qualify for a full doc program or an agency investor program, except for the fact that they get cut off by a technicality such as they have more than 10 properties or whatever that agency limit is. Silver Hill is a great alternative for that, and the terms and rate on the deal is reflective of the plan B, but it is certainly something that many investors have the ability to handle because they're still very aggressive for a plan B program. Talked about tax returns. they either don't want to produce them, or if they do produce them, it will not help their cause. And sometimes that's one and the same. So when you talk to your borrowers and they start hemming and hawing about showing their tax returns or asking about bank statement programs, this DSCR program is a really good alternative. And then they don't want to use their own income. We talk about this a lot in the processing of the deals. Think of this as a business expense now, more so than a personal expense when you're dealing with DSCR and any type of commercial leaning product or non-QM product. A lot of areas you can identify great candidates for the DSCR program, and the first one I would say is when things aren't going smoothly through an agency process. So we believe a really good learning tool is to show you actual closed loans and what these properties look like, because they're things that you drive by every single day, and that the income opportunity is really strong. So you'll see the pictures of the properties there, but some general borrower attributes to these are that borrowers are not meeting the DTI requirements in the DU. They're also experienced investors. One thing that we can share with you is that if it is a first-time investor, we're definitely not the best place for them. We like to see good credit and above. So minimum of a 650, 660 credit score is strong. And then U.S. citizen. We don't do foreign nationals. We actually have a solution to recommend. If you do have a foreign national, we have a referral source that used to be one of our own, so keep that in mind. They're looking for a long-term solution. We are not a short-term lending solution, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm surrounded by private money lenders as we speak. I've taken a lot of information, bridge loans, and about. So it's suffice it to say that if I can't help you with the scenario that you might have, I have people that I can refer you to. Some of them actually know personally here because this is in my backyard, about 60 miles from my house. And again, we talked about that tax return issue. So going into the specific loans on the right side, there's just a house that you would drive by and think that's somebody's family. Well, in reality, it's owned by an investor. It's multiple units in there. Loan amounts very reasonable, $228,000, and it was a cash out refinance. Low LTV, strong credit, strong net operating income. Again, that income is from the property, not the borrower. The debt service at that LTV turned out to be very strong, and that reflects in the rate. So a 4.625 is a non-QM product, is something that 5 to 8 years ago, that was a good loan on an owner-occupied house. So a very strong deal in this particular case. And then one in North Carolina, another property that just looks nondescript, but is a 2 to 4 similar loan amount in this particular case. Again, strong LTV of 60%, credit score near 800, and a debt service coverage ratio that's 0.11 higher than our minimum. So again, a 4.5% rate, not bad at all. And keep in mind, our very helpful people at Silver Hill that sharing my screen, so my emails are popping up. So, thank you for the heads up, though.
The good news, Joe, is that I can see that you've charged your laptop, and I think we're all very happy about that. So that's very encouraging. So I do see that. So that's great news.
Yeah, it was on its last legs there for a minute, so I scooted over to a different seat. A lot of adaptation here, which is analogous to the way we operate within our transactions. We are always fluid and can adapt and adjust when your deals start to go sideways for whatever reason.
Exactly. That's the word of the day too. So
yes. Yeah. All right. So why is small balance really good for your product set? Zach really laid out the case beautifully, and yes, I'll second his appreciation of Redfin for timing those reports. There is fewer competition for small balance commercial loans. There's a lot of competition for the DSCR. I'm within it as we speak, but as you start to move away from the 1 to 4s and get into the 5 and up units, or the strip malls, or the warehouses, you'll start to thin out the herd of folks looking for these particular transactions. Many regular refi opportunities exist here for these folks because there's fewer lenders buying for these deals or available to do these deals. And one thing that a lot of our more successful commercial brokers realize, and because they realize that they are successful, is they don't necessarily worry about finding the best rate. They know that this is a lot of times a product, and that it comes down to finding the right lender and the right solution when it comes to amortization, when it comes to structuring the deal, when it comes to ease of the transaction. And when it comes to timing. There's a sentence down here that's understated as well. You likely already have these borrowers in your database. I don't want to steal my own thunder, but I will say, before we get into the third poll question, is that if you're strictly a residential lender or do mostly residential, even when you're residential borrowers, there's probably a very solid percentage of them that would be a commercial candidate. Think of all the people you've done a residential loan for that are self-employed. These are candidates that either own a business, own a property, rent a property that they want to own. So consider asking an additional question even as you're doing a residential transaction. So Zach,
Joe,
I'll turn it back to you for the poll question.
I've developed a poll phobia, Joe. I don't want to risk it here because we've got it set up for the end. I'll just let everyone know that the third question was really just about what do you do with this commercial scenario today? Now we know that we've got nearly 65% of our audience today does commercial and residential, but you don't know how often. And so, like I had mentioned earlier, that could be something you do once a year. Something if it really hits that wheelhouse, that multifamily property that you're familiar with. Is this something where if it's, let's say, a self-storage facility or some kind of office, mobile home park, something like that, like, is it something that you don't normally do or aren't familiar with? Will you pass it on to someone? Will you just say no? Like, will you refer it to a colleague, or will you try to close it yourself? And so maybe instead of just sharing that poll, that's something you can be thinking about, because while we do have good referral opportunities, we do have different types of ways of working with us. I think what Joe's going to illustrate here is that with the Silver Hill Wholesale Network, you have the ability now to broker these loans, and you can actually look for them actively, even, or even you just stay more receptive when they come in, and maybe don't think right away like, oh, I better just hand this off, or I better just say no. Because we've got a pathway here where you can grow your business, and especially Joe's going to show you some examples. But when you look at the comp, I mean, that is when it starts to make sense for a lot of people. I think fewer restrictions there, and it's a good way to just grow your business. But anyway, Joe, why don't you just go straight ahead to the next slide?
Awesome, thank you, Zach. Yeah, I just thought of that. If I had to give it back to you, that might be problematic.
I'm scared.
So let's take a look at our small balance commercial products. So we talked about the investor PLS, and we've talked about the DSCR program. Now we're going into really what we call our core program, which is legitimately commercial products, 5 and higher on the apartment buildings and office, retail, mixed use, of those types of properties. So we have several options when they come through the door. The great news about working with a Silver Hill account executive, they're versed in and can really do a great job in recommending which program best suits your borrower. So it's great for you to know the parameters around each, and we have oodles of information around that to share with you. But in general, we can work with you to recommend the right program. So obviously the best terms are going to come under the full doc program. That's borrowers that don't worry about DTI. They're borrowers that can show cash flow, reserves, personal income, property income, and we're going to be able to give them the best pricing. We go into light dock investor, and we have fewer requirements around that. No tax returns required for investor deals. So they can't own a business in that particular property. Of course, none of our loans on the commercial side can they live in. For a light dock investor, there are some information that we will look for, but will not include tax returns. I'm going in clockwise order, guys. Now to the owner-occupied bank statement program. So this is a program where a borrower occupies the business in the property. Again, we don't do any owner-occupied residences, but if they own a business in the property, we can verify income through 12 months of business bank statements, no tax returns, and notice that's business bank statements. So we're not verifying in that case personal income through their personal bank statements. So again, another option, and rates and terms are going to reflect the program, but I attest to you that these borrowers are being presented options that they ordinarily can't obtain, and that these rates are still aggressive for the particular programs that they qualify for. And then the newest program that we offer is the No Doc Streamline, where we're not looking at any personal income verification at all, including tax returns, bank statements, or even operating statements. One big caveat on this. So it's named No Doc Streamline, put in parentheses, from an underwriting standpoint. So we don't underwrite any of these documents. The appraiser may ask for bank statements, rents, leases, or maybe even operating statements to complete the valuation process on the property. Those documents go to the appraiser, stay with the appraiser, and are only used to value the property. The underwriter is not looking at those documents and making an underwriting decision on that. So keep in mind the No Doc for income verification streamline product, that your borrower may have to have some documentation ready for the appraiser. So Zach alluded to these case studies, and I think you'll see a couple of these that look like, oh wow, that's definitely commercial, and others that said, geez, I would have driven right by that and not thought that was commercial at all. So we'll start in Atlanta, Georgia. Very good-looking office building, very healthy loan amount of $1.7 million. I'll direct your attention to the compensation for the broker, right? Almost $26,000, which is, some of you that do commercial loans might say that's even a little light for that particular loan amount. But I'll point out too, for the residential folks on the line, even with Lakeview, there's a max compensation. There is not in our commercial loans other than what we limit you to on a percentage basis. So it could go up to, we allow up to 3 points up front and 2 points yield spread if you buy the rate up. So the combination of those two can equate to 5%, as long as it doesn't negatively affect the DSCR to where the deal doesn't work. So always keep that in mind when you're pricing loans as well. Nice warehouse in Texas, 500,000 and change loan amount, 70% LTV, and again, very nice payday for the broker in that particular case. In Cape Canaveral, Florida, well, we do not do mobile homes, but we'll do an entire mobile home park. In this case, the mobile home park, you think of it as a apartment building where we are considering the income of the pads and the units so long as there are livable mobile homes on those pads. Loan amount was $600,000, cash out refinance. Not overly common in commercial, although I've been seeing it a little bit here in this expo I'm at, are the 30-year fixed terms. An investor, obviously we don't do any owner-occupied dwellings, and a broker only made a point on the deal, but that point means $6,000. And if it's an easy deal, then we say that's an easy $6,000. So a really good thing to put a name to the loans in these particular cases.
And I'll just point out, Jared, that I've been speaking with a few Resi pros, and the mobile home part sticks out to them. We always talk about all the different property types we do, and I'll kind of mention at the end because I've gotten a few questions. But maybe that's resonating with you too. Like you didn't know that necessarily was something that this lender could help you with, but it is. And so that's why I wanted to highlight that specific deal. And we do get them. And if that's something that you see that you've always had to turn down, it's not anymore. So that could be good news for you.
Great point, Zach. And it just reminded me as well to point out this, that if you're a lender or a broker that is registered with Lakeview, haven't even thought of doing these, your approval with Lakeview automatically qualifies you to do these types of loans with Silver Hill. So you don't have to go through a new approval process. The caveat in this case being there are 6 states, your AE can share them with you. One of them is Florida that has some licensing requirements depending on the entity the loan closes in. New Jersey has one around the property type. California, you flat out need a license. And there's a few others that you need a license to do commercial loans in as well. But in 44 states, you're set up to do commercial loans through us. Actually not 44, there's about 10 states we don't do loans in, but most states in the country, you can do these loans if you're signed up with Lakeview. So these are the products we've talked about today that are easy to jump right into. So the agency investor PLS, you're going to get very aggressive pricing across the board, and it's a very strong product for us right now. If your broker doesn't fit that mold, the next best option is a DSCR program that also has very aggressive pricing, a tick higher than the investor, but you still enjoy the same great service you get with the Silver Hill family. And again, something to add to your arsenal is small balance commercial, where you can find these prospects in your current database, talking about not even having to do anything extra than you already do to find some borrowers to prospect for small balance commercial. So with that, Zach, I will pass it along to you to see if we have any questions and to take us out.
Awesome. So yeah, really quickly, I'm just gonna walk through some ways to work with us. A few specific things I want to mention because it might be an area of confusion. When you saw the news about the wholesale network, what does this mean, so on and so forth. If you're approved with Lakeview, you have your account executive, you have your partner. Nothing has changed there. That's still your partner. They're really excited to help you like they always have been. Same deal on the commercial side. You're a commercial broker with us. You have a partner. That person is your partner. So I think that's really important to share because we're so focused on relationships. I know that's important to you. It's not like you're going to have to get to know someone new. So that being said, if you are not approved and you maybe saw this on social media, someone invited you to this presentation, first of all, thank you so much for joining. Great to meet you. You should definitely get approved with us. That'd be a great first step. Joe really helps that process and makes it as painless as possible. So get in touch with us. I've gotten a few questions already. How do I do that? So we connect with us. Joe has specific steps you can take. We'll give you links at the end. If these kind of loans seem interesting to you and you're not approved, or even if you are and you're not active with us, like maybe you need to recertify, like that could be the case too. Really invite you to do that. Now would be a really good time because of all these new things we're doing. I think it's a great time to do that. Connect with your AE, whether you refer to us, account executives, regional managers, what account managers, your partner, especially if it's been a while, even saying happy Thanksgiving, whatever. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you, share with you. There actually are a lot of new things to talk about. So if you had sort of on your CRM scheduled for like a check-in at some point, now's a great time to do that too, because they can help you. And not only that, but they can be a lot more specific than we're able to. They understand you, your market, they're there with you. So they might be able to help you see how this might apply to what you're seeing right now. Also, if you're regularly submitting deals, they know how your business kind of slots in with what we're really well priced for right now. And finally, diversify our product set. Like if you're familiar with Silver Hill, you know that we are always invested in educational tools for brokers. We want to help you learn how to do commercial loans if it's not something you're already doing. If you're already doing it, we want to get out of the way and give you good pricing, make sure you give a good experience and we can help you close. But if you're new, if you want to learn, we think that's awesome, and we are prepared to help you with that with all sorts of different training resources. We're building out our new website, but we have a lot of existing tools. And again, connect with your rep because they can show you how to get into those. And I know I would be more than willing to help as well, to reach out to me. I'll give my email at the end. But yeah, Joe, you can move on to the last slide. The last slide. Yeah. So simply put, we want to hear from you. You've heard about pricing. You don't have to take our word for it. Use your preferred pricing engine. Check us out. Check out Lakeview. Check out the names you've always looked for, because nothing's changed yet on the pricing engines. So you can see the pricing there. You see where we're slotted right now. I think it's really good news and helpful for your business. Go to shwholesale.com. It's a new website we've set up for the network. A lot of good information there about our products, more detailed than we're able to get into on this call. So I invite you to do that also. And yeah, just very happy to announce this, talk about it in public. It feels good. And we know it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning, and it's really going to be a lot better if you share with us what you think, what you want. I think we are really craving that kind of information from our partners. How can we best help you? Because that's what we want to do, and the best way is for you to tell us. So with that, I'm going to just run through a couple questions because we're actually kind of getting up on the time, and I want to make sure you guys get the most of your day back. Joe, I'm just going to go through a few quick questions, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Some of these I'm going to answer. I feel like I can answer a couple of these. Middle and maximum loan amount. So with the resi, I'm assuming this is with the commercial section because the resi you may already know, and also the question was posed at that time. For commercial, we go up to 2 million. And so we're looking at it's really at that 100,000 to 2 million range. And a lot, if you're familiar with small balance commercial, the majority are under $1 million, almost at that sort of 500,000 level is you see a lot of those. But that's typically what small balance means for us. And we recognize that can mean different things for different lenders, but that's how we see it. One question, what about bars and restaurants? We're not currently doing bars and restaurants as a property type, but we'd be happy to give you the full list of what we do close on. And it's a lot of those familiar property types: offices, retail strip centers, mixed use, multifamily, of course, warehouse. What a good way to think about it is that we won't do those kinds of like special use properties like a golf course or like an ice rink, like those kind of multi-use, those kind of buildings we will do, and we do a wide range, I would say. I'm getting some yes, sir.
I was going to jump into on the restaurants, bars, and you can scold me if I'm a little bit out of school, but yes, you're correct. We do not currently do them, but we are entertaining the idea of bringing them back because main reason we didn't do them for a long time was obviously they were the most hard hit businesses due to the COVID pandemic. But as the economy recovers, we do get a lot of inquiries. So we're considering, no timetable on it, but we're considering bringing them back into the fold. Check back with it.
Right. Yeah, right. No, that is correct. So a few others that I can answer here. Some of these seem like I wrote them, but I swear I did not. One is, can I use this presentation to help train my loan officers? Yes, that would be excellent. That's why I'm going to send it to you all, so you have this presentation. You can go through it at your speed. And what might be great is that you can go through it again and just, pick up the phone and call your rep if you come up on something that you want more information on, because they'd be very happy to help you there. But yes, no, we want to make this training resource available for as many people as possible. In the same vein, someone asked, will it be available afterward? Yes, I'm going to send it. I have a few questions about specifics of the DSCR program, which is excellent, and I'm very glad to see that interest. What I will do is I've made a note of who asked those questions. I'm going to send our guideline rate sheet directly to you. And I invite everyone to do the same thing. My email is znorth@silverhillfunding.com. Z for Zach. So znorth@silverhillfunding.com. If you've got a very specific question and you don't have a rep today that you want to reach out to, please email me. I'd be happy to send you all the materials we have and help connect you with someone. More than happy to do it. This question, Joe, perhaps you can answer. It says, how can I get approved? It's, again, it seems like I might have written that one, but no, someone asked, how can I get approved? What would you say to someone who's coming to this presentation is kind of looking to get started?
Well, I would say that's definitely a buying signal. And number two, there is a couple of ways you can initiate that process. Probably the easiest is go to lakeviewwholesale.com. There is a link to get signed up with us, and that email goes directly to me. I guess I'm remiss for not having my email on the screen, and my last name's really long. So that's probably the easiest way. But if you want to take a shot at jaltamonte@silverhillfunding.com, you certainly can, or if someone wants to type that into the chat, like Zach, that would be helpful too.
I did. I just did.
Awesome. You can email me directly, or you can go to lakeviewwholesale.com. Now, if your question is about getting approved just to do commercial, email me as well. And there's a slightly different process for commercial only, because it's actually a little easier to get approved to just do commercial. So we don't have to put you through the convergence and all the residential points. But also another coming soon item that I think is good from the approval process, I would look for in moving forward that you'll find that we're going to be streamlining our approval process too. So it's not hard to get approved with us to begin with, but we're going to make it as easy as possible for you.
Yes, I know it's important. That's a pain point in this industry. So we want to make sure that's as streamlined as easy as possible. I'm getting a bunch of more specific questions here. What I'm going to do is once this is over, we export out all the questions, and so I will make sure that someone gets back to you and answers your specific question. The last one I see here, which I can just knock off, is mini or self-storage. Yes, self-storage facilities is one of the eligible property types for our commercial business. So if that is something you see in your market, we would love to hear about it. We help you close that. Okay, so we are right up on the hour. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you're at that event, so I really appreciate it. And thanks for saving me on that poll question issue. What I love is that I checked because I was nervous. We didn't lose a single attendee during that. So thank you guys for sticking with us. I really appreciate that. It's great to be here with you again. We want to see you in person, and we're going to be kind of traveling around. So we want to connect with you in person, get to know you better. But we really like doing these events to just kind of get everyone in the same room digitally and share about some great news that we think could be very helpful for you. So again, thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll be connecting with you immediately following this call, so we can take that next step together. Okay, everyone. Joe, thanks again, and goodbye. Have a great rest of your day.